Welcome to episode 2 of Major Talk. This is Jordan with Mark.
Hey guys, once again, how you doing?
So guys, if you're here listening to episode 2, I'm glad you stuck around, unless you're a little asshole who just skipped the first episode, came straight to the second one. By all means, welcome back.
But even if you did that, you guys aren't assholes. We love all of you, no matter who.
He knows I mean that. They know that. Anyways, today we're trying to give you our personal background on our religious beliefs.
Yeah, we just kind of wanted to make a whole sort of session dedicated to basically letting you guys know what religious backgrounds we came from, so you guys would know what we represent, what we stand for, what we believe in general.
What we used to believe in.
What we used to believe in, then what we believe in now. So we just kind of wanted to tell you guys a little background story. I guess, Jordan, you can start with yourself.
Before I begin, I do want to state that when we were thinking about beginning the show that we're starting, Major Talk, it really was about the 3 social sins, in my opinion. Science, religion, and politics. Now, other people would say sex is one of those things, and maybe not so much science, but when it comes down to science, trust me, it's one of those social sins. But I digress. Moving on, in the past, when I was much younger, much more an aggressive little kid, was hardcore atheist. I mean, just repugnant towards...
Oh yeah, he definitely was.
Oh yeah, just destructive towards any religion, and I'll be honest, at the time, especially Christianity. I was raised as a Catholic kid up until a certain point where I had to leave the Catholic school that I did go to and went to public school. Trust me, major difference. People know, like, if you're listening and you went from a private school, to a public school, especially one that's religious, makes all the fucking difference in the world. Anyways, I sort of, with the shit that personally happened to me throughout my childhood and my adolescence, I slowly grew past my religion and into a dark, hateful atheism. Not in my adolescence, but this was my earlier childhood with the dark atheism. And then, it all slowly but surely began to change when I met you, Mark.
Yeah, but I also do want to say when we first met, we had countless arguments.
We had nothing in common. I mean, for fuck's sake, why were we even talking?
Like, a black with white or something. It was like water with fire. It was
water and oil.
Completely different.
Blood and water.
You and I were just like complete opposite in terms of political spectrum, religious spectrum, scientific spectrum. Everything was on the complete other side of the whole map, even, It
was like two fundamentalists on the opposite ends of the spectrum came together, and
that's what it was, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, instead of killing each other like a lot of people probably thought we would have done, we came to an understanding, of a higher understanding.
We had so many 5-hour discussions that would.
They didn't even feel like 5 hours.
They didn't, but they would lead up until 2 a.m. or something, when we would just. And
I remember.
By the time I went home, my mouth would be completely dry just because of all the talking that I did, and I would be kind of angry. But then again, I'd be like, well, he made some pretty good points, to be honest, too. So I wouldn't be.
We
exactly
both came
angry.
out like that.
Yeah, and then I guess what happened later is that we just kind of grew to realize that our views could come to a center, and then we could respect each other's views and really understand them.
For the audience listening right now that are politically inclined, we don't mean Nancy Pelosi to the center, where we give up our morals and stuff to do bipartisan fuckery. We're talking about understanding that, yes, all of atheism is not correct, and yes, all of Christianity is not correct, but the same goes with Buddhism and Jews and Muslims and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We got 4,000 religions in the world. I mean, at the same time, you can say, hey, a lot of them are wrong, but at the same time, some of them have to have a lot of it right. And if you are a really logical person, reasonable, hears out the facts, and not angry,
you should be able to realize this either way.
You're able to break down and chisel those that don't make sense, and evidently it moves you towards the middle. It does. It doesn't change your entire religious, political, entire views, but it moves you to a greater place. Because, I mean, it allows you for better understanding.
It does.
Because I am able to understand, in politics specifically, I'm able to understand people at the far right. I mean, Donald Trump lovers. My grandfather's a lover of Donald Trump. Fox News is the only news to really watch besides local California news. Like Fox 93, whatever, I don't care. But I've been able to have an actual conversation with him. I learned from him as well, you know. And that's all in part of because of you. Like, I've moved towards understanding Christians, both fundamental and logical. And you are one of the most logical ones I've ever met.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that.
Don't suck your dick.
My story is it just comes from the complete opposite side, basically. Besides the fact that you went to a Christian school. I didn't go to a Christian school, but I guess
Which is a surprise for being Orthodox Russian, excuse me. I didn't mention that.
So my family comes from Russia, from the Soviet Union, to be exact.
Putin's puppet.
But basically, they were religious. And in the Soviet Union, being religious is, you know, basically suicide. You can't get a job. You can't get a good career. I mean, you can get a job, but what, like... It would be like
pick up my
sweeping
trash.
the streets.
Yeah, exactly.
That type of job.
Yeah.
And, you know, so being religious was a big part of my family. The whole, you know, dating back to like 3 generations back, as far as we can remember.
Oh, please do give our viewers the information about your grandfather. I mean,
yeah, my grandfather. My grandfather was a basically lead pastor in a whole region of Russia, and in fact, he was so like. He had a lot of, I wouldn't say power, but he was well known.
Influence.
Yeah, a lot of influence. And
for our viewers, what was his name?
Mikhail Konshin. And
Mikhail Konshin.
Mikhail Konshin. And he was so, like I said, he had like, I guess, power or something that they even released him to go to South Korea to Turkey. This was during the Soviet Union when they wouldn't even let normal people go out.
We're talking 70s, 80s, or 60s, 50s?
Somewhere around that range, I think. So but my
quite
point
a few
is...
decades, but somewhere in its point in
that
Soviet
range,
Union.
That range
Stalin,
was
correct?
Still... Yes, it was definitely after Stalin. But
there you go.
Still, that range was super locked down. You couldn't go to any country, especially South Korea. That was, you know, a very capitalist... Still is.
Look at South and North Korea today. I mean,
yeah, exactly. But he was able to go to a lot of countries just because of that, and he had, you know, he was definitely a conservative Christian, right? But he would never judge anyone per se, you know, which I really respect about him. And I know some of the other leaders that were in the other regions of Russia, they would be a lot more fiery, a lot more judgmental and stuff. And that's one of the main things that I loved about my grandfather, is that he, you know, even though he was raised such a conservatively Christian person, he still didn't really judge anyone. But anyway, so I was raised basically also in a Russian Baptist church, and Baptist churches in general are really conservative, strict, whatever, you name it. I feel like people know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Russian Baptist church is like 3 times worse, right? Some churches are strict enough to the point that they would literally come up with like a centimeter reader to measure how long your skirt is or something. You know what I mean? Like, they're rare, but there are some churches like that.
They're out there.
They're out there. They're definitely out there. And trust me, you do not want to step in there. But I was basically raised, like I said, very conservatively Christian and everything. And, you know, I didn't really believe in science. World is 6,000 years old,
flat. Dinosaurs were around with the humans. Like, we're talking that conservative.
Yeah, the young Earth creationalists, and actually the church. I mean, I still go to basically the same church. It's really, it has grown, it has expanded, its views have expanded. Definitely.
I don't play identity politics, but for the love of God, literally, in the sense, there was a black dude in that church, and I was even shocked because last time I went to that church,
there were only white Russians.
Russians,
they have
not even Asian Russians.
Yes, and so they have really expanded, to which I'm really happy. But some of the other smaller conservative churches, they still have that same mentality. 6,000 years old, the unearthed creationists. They don't believe in evolution, nothing.
Homosexuality is a sin.
Blah blah blah.
Oh,
the list goes on. The list goes on. But and me though, my whole life I was really interested in science. There was no way that I could just throw that away just because some people at a church would say that. So gradually I became more rebellious towards truth. And for a lot of people, when they go towards that path,
the Christianity and towards the truth,
yeah, and a lot of people, when they go towards that path, they just forsake religion altogether because they think that if you want to follow science, then there's no way that you can be religious, or if you be religious, there's no way that you can believe in science or whatnot, right? I am both a scientist and a very devoted Christian. And if you were to ask me,
he will definitely be able to say he is a scientist very soon. Although he may not be able to actually say it, he will get his degree within the next
in general science, basically.
In general science, within the next
4 months.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but my point being, you can literally debate with me about how can you possibly be a Christian, follow the scripture, believe everything that is stated there, and still believe in things like that the earth is billions of years old, that we came from a common ancestor, and the list goes on, right? How do you combine those two things? I found a way to combine those two things, and it's more of just because those conservative Christians really kind of take everything literally. Even when some things are meant to be taken a different way,
metaphorically or something of that nature.
They take them just how it's written. So for example, I'm just going to give a small example that when they say that the earth was made in 6 days, right? I believe that the earth was made in 6 days. I believe it was made in 6 days that are in like Jesus's scale, right? I don't believe it's 6 human days. I believe it's 6 days for God, right? Which for him could be millions, whatever. We don't know the exact amount, but I don't believe that it's 6 human days, right? That way I can take that verse of the scripture and I can take the scientific evidence and I could combine those two and I could be like, this makes sense and this makes sense. And that's how I can combine these two things and still be religious and scientific at the same time.
Which is like the golden key of our entire decade-long conversations.
Yes, because, you would go on YouTube and you would have like these heavily religious folk debate with like a Bill Nye
and Ken Ham. Woo, that
Kent
was
Hovind
terrible.
or something, debating with like Bill Nye or one of these scientists. And
I say that's terrible because Bill Nye was wasting his time with Ken Ham, like really Ken Ham.
And with Kent Hovind too. But my point is like, I really hate those types of videos because there's just so much hate and
Bill Nye did
negativity. Well, yes, obviously.
Well, duh, but I had to say it.
Yes, I totally agree. But my point is, I don't like those kind of debates because I feel like science should stay in the spiritual spectrum of life.
Right.
I mean, no, sorry. Religion should stay in the spiritual spectrum.
I knew what you meant, but yes,
and science should stay in the physical spectrum of life, right?
And that's what I was trying to say by golden key. That's the whole golden key of how our talks have been. It's wonderful because we have this. I'm not trying to be my own ass, smell my own farts about this. I'm saying it's a beautiful concept when you think about it. We're talking about the spiritual sense, God, religion, on one side. And then on the other side, there's science, physical evidence, the scientific method, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, whatever. And then there's the in-between. And they come together conjoined in certain different areas evenly. Excuse me, I take that back. Not evenly, but point is they come together because there's science and religion can come together on many, like religion understands certain bases in science, and then so it allows religion to go from the physical place to where religion should be, the belief place.
Right.
So it stands on top of science, and then from there grows into the spirituality, the belief, and something that science, as we know it at least right now, and something I believe within the next 100 years couldn't even be discovered on a single one of these answers, that's where it grows.
Right. And so, throughout the many years that Jordan and I know each other, it was a very gradual path to this conclusion. It took a very long time for us to come to this conclusion.
It's snail mail. It was snail mail.
It wasn't even snail. It was even slower than that, to be honest.
I guess I can give you that.
we had periods where we didn't even talk at all because I was mad at you. You were mad at me. We were like, screw this guy. I'm not gonna talk with him. Freaking heathen. But then. Oh my gosh. But then, it really just kind of came together, and I dragged you more to the religious side a little bit, kind of shown you that not all Christians are as judgmental and crazy
I wouldn't say as dragged. You knew. I'd say you showed me more of the light. Not to be,
I shouldn't have
corny, but...
Yes, I just kind of showed you a different side of Christianity than a lot of people... and even these days see,
I would go as far as to say the side of Christianity that, I could only accept and something that I would like to see in the world, and I'm not saying that for a personal reason, I'm saying that because the Christianity...
We need a lot more love in this world. And
you give more of the Jesus Christianity that I like to see.
Which is the only type of Christianity that's supposed to exist in the first place.
Yeah, well, that's not something that's said often, but
yes.
People just, like I was about to do, graze over it. Like, well, there's all these denominations, there are all these different ways.
Yes.
Even though these denominations are so similar in many different ways, and they only have like one or two different aspects.
And that's the other thing, I really feel like there's way too many denominations. Like, if Jesus really came right now, would he be happy about all these denominations that we have in the world? I highly doubt that. I really...
See, that's a good thing I can't think like Jesus, because if I came down and I saw this, I'd be like, how could you be so calm coming down and seeing all the chaos that goes on? I can't even state it on this podcast to allow us to continue the conversation we're having if I'm trying to list all the shit that I could just name off that Jesus would go, well.
You and I both, though. And, I guess it's just really unique, the fact that we come from these very separate understandings of religion, and that yet we were able to come into this, like, peaceful,
like caterpillars
mindset,
metamorphosizing,
and this is what kind of leads me to believe that if we can be friends like this, if we can connect on this
personal level,
then there should be no reason for conflict between, like, in terms of religion nowadays, because it all just comes down to communication. If you communicate properly with people, then, and respect their views to a certain degree. You don't have to, fully respect them, but even if you respect them a little bit, that's good enough.
It's the base respect
to keep the peace and tranquility that
we
so need.
Like, you have your opinions. Just because I feel like I'm right doesn't mean I'm right to tell you you're
wrong.
Well, I can tell you you're wrong, but force you towards that position, that's not right. Like, if you want to believe what you want to believe, that's the beauty of belief is...
Yeah. I totally understand that,
It's also the ignorance of belief, but...
Exactly.
It's belief. Yeah. Belief is what it is.
That's
the unfortunate.
We just kind of wanted to give this general overview for
this general background
listeners, And if you guys ever have any questions, just to see how we react to it, and like, you know, like I just gave the small example about how I was able to view science and religion, you know, and how I was able to combine certain parts of it, like I said about the 6 days, right? If you guys want us to talk about certain things, Jordan coming in from his perspective, I'm coming in from my more religious perspective, whatever topic it is, send it down in the comments, and we'll do a video about that. Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. We're here, like I was trying to catch on earlier, we are lovers of science. We we have high respects and influence in religion and politics.
And to be honest, we just really want
Not
people,
influence, but
want people to learn how to respect each other's views, you know?
Knowledge.
How to, the knowledge to really...
Well, I'm saying we have a lot of knowledge, not influence towards it. And we want people to respect views and have knowledge. And I'm not saying give up your views,
we just want to show people a way that you can have peace and tranquility with no matter who.
If you're going to have
no matter
religious,
what their view is,
political, scientific arguments, debates as they should be with your family members or your friends, I would highly recommend you listen in on us and ask us questions, give us tidbits, and
especially
help
if you're
a
Christian. You know, we're not striving for debates or to have, you know, hard feelings or something when we talk about it. The most important thing that we can do is show love, and as much love as we can.
And don't forget enlightenment. You know, it's not about the debates for Christians in my personal view, but I mean enlightenment is another one about. It's one of those things like the pilgrimage. That's where people make that journey, the whole spiritual... Okay, good, I'm right. I had to think about that, sorry. But anyways, that's the one beauty of that specific ordeal is, you know, being humble and enlightening your values, your morals, your overall universal comprehending on life and what's going on around you. And that's one thing that I'm glad that I'm coming around towards religion, is because I can help those who are religious see more towards the respectful, communicative side and being able to be more prosperous, because you don't have to give up your views, but the one thing you do have to give up is your hatred towards one another and your inability to give up to live with each other.
Amen.
That's the basis of what we're asking for. I mean, the base of what we're asking for. That's the base. That's it, right there. That's all we're asking for. From there, we can
nice
debate.
And simple.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening with us. I know it's been a long episode for this one. We'll have plenty more for you as we can give out with schedules given.
Yep. Keep those comments rolling for us.
Please do subscribe.
Yeah.
Give some feedback, like you said. We love having these conversations with each other, and we love that you guys will be listening and joining in. The more people that join in these conversations is nice, because I do like to view it more as a conversation than just a show for you.
Yes.
It is more of a show for all of us to be a part of, and please do comment. We do appreciate it.
Please comment as much as you want.
Well, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night.
Thank you again. Have a good night.